Today we treat object ownership as a correctness boundary. Under concurrency, you must know who may touch an object, when ownership changes, and what invariant survives that handoff. A sequential demo can pass while hiding the assumption that only one actor ever touches the object. Thread confinement forces us to ask, who owns access right now?
So the problem is not just that the demo is too small, but that it never tests the ownership boundary.
Exactly. Before choosing a lock, queue, or retry mechanism, name the invariant and gather evidence that it holds under pressure. Ownership leads to confinement, confinement protects an invariant, and pressure challenges that invariant through timing, retries, or competing workers.
Where does evidence enter the argument?
Evidence is what turns the invariant from a design claim into something reviewable. Logs and tests must show whether the protected transition actually survived pressure. By the end, you should be able to find the hidden ownership assumption, force the failure, choose a control, and defend the trade-off in your integrity packet.
What counts as a defense rather than just an implementation description?
A defense connects the mechanism to the invariant, then backs it with repeatable evidence, logs, traces, interleavings, commands, or before and after test output. The dangerous loop starts with success. The demo passes, so we assume the design is safe, but the demo may only prove that one actor behaved nicely.
Why did the sequential test pass if the design was actually unsafe?
Because the failing interleaving never occurred, the test avoided the gap between read, decision, update, and side effect. Thread confinement asks who may access the object. The invariant states what must remain true. The failure mode explains how pressure breaks it. The trade-off states what the fix costs.
If I say, I used a lock, is that enough?
No, a lock is only meaningful after you say what property it protects, such as single ownership of a state transition or prevention of duplicate side effects. A happy path reads current state, applies a transition, emits a side effect, and observes a successful result. That model is useful, but it hides timing.
What hidden timing assumption is doing the damage?
That the state remains current between the read and the transition, and that no other actor can emit the same side effect in the meantime. This pseudocode looks harmless because each step reads like a single operation. Under concurrency, those steps are separate openings for interference.
If the final result is correct, how would I notice the bug?
You need evidence of the path, not just the final state. Worker IDs, entity IDs, previous state, attempted transition, side effect count, and outcome. In the podcast example, the cleaner owns the audio asset while cleaning. Afterward, ownership is handed to the publisher, and the cleaner should no longer mutate it.
What makes that a real handoff rather than just a story we tell about the code?
The references and lifecycle rules must enforce it. If the cleaner keeps a usable reference, confinement has not actually been achieved. A queue can transfer ownership. The producer prepares the object, places it in the queue, and the consumer becomes the owner when it receives it.
Does putting something in a queue automatically make the design safe?
Only if the producer stops mutating it and no hidden references bypass the queue. The invariant is still, only the current owner mutates the object. For the episode workflow, the key invariant is that only one worker may own a state transition for a given episode at a time.
Why focus on the transition instead of the final episode status?
Because duplicate work can occur even if the final status looks normal. The protected property is exclusive authority to move the episode through the state machine. Worker A reads episode 42 as draft. Before A writes processing, worker B also reads draft. Now both believe they own the transition.
So the invariant violation happens before the duplicate job is visible?
Yes, the duplicate job is the symptom. The violation is that two workers were allowed to claim the same transition. A reviewer must be able to reconstruct the interleaving. That means logs need worker ID, entity ID, observed previous state, attempted new state, timestamp, and win or lose outcome.
Would a log saying started processing episode 42 be enough?
No, it lacks the competing actor, the state observed, and whether the claim was accepted or rejected. It reports an event, not a concurrency argument. Start with a claim. Two workers cannot claim the same episode. Then run a pressure test, collect structured logs, reconstruct the interleaving, and document the decision.
What goes into the integrity packet from this flow?
The claim, the test command or scenario, the relevant log excerpts, the observed outcome, the design decision, and the remaining risk. Compare and set makes one transition winner. Synchronization admits one thread at a time. A single owner queue serializes ownership. Idempotency keys control duplicate side effects.
Which one should I choose first?
Choose the simplest mechanism that directly protects your invariant and leaves evidence. A record transition may fit compare and set. Retry heavy external calls may need idempotency. Here worker A attempts draft to processing and is accepted. Worker B attempts the same transition with a stale expectation and is rejected.
Is the important part that B fails?
The important part is that B fails visibly and safely. The rejected transition proves the invariant was enforced instead of allowing duplicate work. A single owner queue routes many claim requests to one worker, so the episode state machine is advanced by one owner at a time.
What trade-off does this introduce?
You gain simpler ownership reasoning, but you may lose throughput and add queue management. It is a strong fit only when the work can be serialized cleanly. The baseline is useful for comparison. Guarded transitions protect the invariant directly, explicit coordination makes order visible, and observability-first design strengthens the review.
Should the A1 answer present one of these as the best design?
Not universally. Your answer should justify the fit, what property was protected, what cost you accepted, and why that cost is reasonable for your system. Avoid treating one passing demo as proof, naming a tool before the invariant, logging without entity IDs, deleting the failing test, or claiming safety without repeatable pressure evidence.
Why is losing the failing test such a serious problem?
Because then you cannot show before and after behavior under the same workload. The redesign becomes a claim without a controlled comparison. For A1, write the assumption, state the invariant, run a failure-focused test, capture evidence, explain the correction, and record remaining risk.
What would be a concrete remaining risk after fixing the episode transition?
The transition may be protected, but publishing might still need idempotency if an external call is retried or partially succeeds. Be ready to answer. What object is confined? Who owns it? What invariant overlap would violate? How you forced the interleaving? And what log proves the loser was rejected?
If I can answer those, what does that demonstrate?
It demonstrates design defense. You are no longer just describing code. You are explaining the property, the failure, the control, and the evidence. Object ownership is a correctness boundary. Thread confinement only works when access is actually restricted, and the invariant is the center of the argument. For A1, stress the boundary, observe the result, defend the correction, and name the remaining trade-off.